So it is the most challenging yet rewarding part of this lifestyle. And thankfully, I have a husband that is really good at it. But I think I like to share that you don't have to be good at it. You can struggle and it's still okay. And you can still be minimal-ish and enjoy this lifestyle.
Are you an RV person? Or are you just RV life curious, wondering how people live in a tiny space with their family 24/7? Either way, this is a podcast for you. My name is Kate White, and I travel full-time with my family and 2 kids and the dog in an RV. Every week, I sit down either with a fellow RV woman to discuss why she chose RV life and how she has changed on the road, or with a special guest who speaks on a topic relevant to travel life. Pull a chair up to the fire and let's chat. Marissa Moss, welcome to the RV Queens podcast. Tell us, where in the world are you today?
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm in the RV capital of the world, I guess you could say. I'm in Indiana.
Fun times. Yeah, I know a lot of people have to stop through there, especially in the summer. So hopefully it's not too painful of a time.
Well, I mean, it's mostly to get some work done, but there is some like really fun stuff in the area, and we love checking it out. And just the culture and the history here is really cool. So there is a lot to see other than RVs, but yeah, I think every RVer knows they have to make this trip eventually and often. So
I am so excited to chat with you today and to dive into your full story. And I always like to start back before RV life began. So if you will, paint a picture of what your life looked like, 9 years ago before you and your family were full-time RVers.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. I mean, we were just living the, I guess, American dream, right? Like we had our little house and we were working our jobs and we were wanting to start a family. It didn't go according to plan, I guess. We had struggled to have children, and so we had went through that process. And so I think when we finally did have our first child, Hensley, I was working as a nurse, and that was the career I'd set out to do, and that was what my passion was. But I realized I was never seeing her face, pretty much. Like I would leave for work in the morning, she was asleep. I'd get home from work, she was asleep, because I was working these long 13-hour shifts. And I thought, this wasn't what my vision of motherhood was. And I just felt called to do something different. And so we actually started researching just downsizing, because we thought, what if we downsize, live small so we can spend more time together as a family? I think my husband had discovered, like, what if we put our home on wheels and traveled? And it was the perfect time, I think, to approach me, because I just wanted to stay home with our daughter so much. So I was like, really put to the test of, would you do anything, right, to stay home and spend time together? And we just both love travel and adventure. And he did not have to convince me. I was like, this sounds amazing. So the next year, we prepped our life and started downsizing and transitioning and doing all the things, right? We sold the house, sold our things, bought an RV, and we hit the road in 2015.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can remember that ache too, of when you first have a baby, but you still need to work financially. I was the breadwinner at the time too with our first one. And it was just the ache of leaving your baby, barely seeing her through all day. It's so hard. So yeah, I'm not surprised you made drastic changes and you're like, whatever it takes. Yeah, I'll get rid of all my stuff. I don't care. Yeah.
Before our daughter, we were like, we need a bigger house. We were looking at adding on and getting a bigger vehicle. I don't know why you automatically think, kid, I need more. And so we actually did the complete opposite of what we set out to do. So I think that's pretty ironic, but also really cool that we did that.
You have a baby and there's just stuff explosion. You're like, why does one baby need 15 chairs and a whole closet full of clothes? But it's just the American way, right? You're from a big family and you have 6 brothers and sisters. So do you come from a family of RVers, or how did your family react when you told them your plans to travel and live in a camper?
Oh no, I had never camped a day in my life. So the thought, I didn't even understand why people went camping. It made no sense to me. I was like, I'm just going to stay in my house where it's comfortable. Camping doesn't sound fun. We didn't grow up camping. So this was a big leap of faith for us. I totally went out on a limb, did it for just the adventure of it. But I mean, after living obviously this lifestyle for 9 years, we absolutely love it. And it's the fact that I can take comforts of home anywhere in the country that we want to go. And so it's not necessarily about the RV. It's the RV's the vessel that like takes us on these adventures. And so we have done a little bit of tent camping too. I said it has to be epic, and it has to be somewhere I can't fit my RV, right? But so we've started branching out a little bit more with that, just to do some like really cool hikes and things like that. But I think once you get uncomfortable being uncomfortable, you can kind of learn more about yourself. And so we've learned these passions from the road. I've learned that I love to camp, and I didn't know that was something I would ever enjoy, or I didn't know I loved hiking, but now that we've set out on this journey, I've realized that's a passion of mine as well. So it's cool what this lifestyle can really open your eyes to new passions.
Strange that there's like levels within yourself. You're like, I never knew I wanted this, but yes, please let me hike that hill with all the rocks and trees. Like, of course.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Who cares about the bugs? It'll be fine. You talk a lot about living with minimal stuff, and you even call yourself a stuffaholic, and your social media handle is less junk, more journey. So why is this message of living with less so important to you?
Because it changed our life. It just did. And I think I'm vocal about that because I want people to know that some people are naturally good at it, like my husband. He is a minimalist at heart, and it brings him so much joy. It's like what he was born to do. And I think for me, I struggle, and I'm attached to things. Everything has a memory. Really downsizing brings me sorrow, and it's very hard, and it's a process. And so I think I like to share that because people think I could never do that. I couldn't get rid of my things. I couldn't get rid of my stuff. So I like to share that there are both sides of that story, and that even though something's hard and you don't think you can do it, that it is possible. And I think I was naive in thinking it would be one downsize and then I'd never have to do it again, right? Like I downsize my house and then we travel in the RV and it's going to be glorious. And then I can live this minimal life. It is not easy. We call it a muscle. Like you're constantly having to downsize in a small space, and it keeps you in check. So it is the most challenging yet rewarding part of this lifestyle. And thankfully, I have a husband that is really good at it. But I think I like to share that you don't have to be good at it. You can struggle and it's still okay. And you can still be minimal-ish and enjoy this lifestyle.
I struggle with the same thing. Similar situation with me and my husband. And for example, our closet. RV closets are small, and his side is like organized, and the place where he has his folded clothes is always like a small stack that's neat, that looks like he's, was in the military, but he never was. And my side's just like exploding and messy and like haphazard, like folded. So we were just back home. We're from Omaha, Nebraska. So we were just back home for a month. And at the end of it, I was like, it's time to purge again. Like we've been on the road for about a year and a half. I'm really specifically dedicated to keeping my side of the closet just as clean as Drew's. Like it was really hard for me. My attachment isn't as much to like the meaning behind it, but I have like this thing with money, and I'm like, I spent all this money on clothes. Like I don't want to just like willy-nilly like give away my clothes. I just had to like let it go. And so I finally got my closet to the point. The feeling when I open the doors is like, oh, yes. Like this is what I need to remember. The feeling of like cleanliness and everything is
The
right in
feeling.
the world. It's such a reward.
I could never match my husband's side. He literally has like 3 shirts and 2 pair of pants, and he wears it's like the same colors.
What?
Yes. And he just wears the same thing over and over. I can never match. But every time I'm like, hey, what if you try a different color or a different style? He's like, that would take more hangers away from you. I'm like, never mind. We're good. You're all good. Just keep to your minimal shirts over there. But it's like the same outfit every day. And it's always the same, even though it's different.
Right. And then so it takes away some decisions. I can see where he's at with this, but then also you guys are on camera a lot. So if he's wearing the same outfits, he can always like just cut the video and it won't matter what day it is.
Behind the scenes, we have definitely had to go back and re-put clothes on and like do things that didn't work out or that got missed. Yeah. So it does help on his side for sure. But I just love clothes so much. And I love to dress for the occasion. Even if we're hiking or doing anything, I just enjoy it. So yeah, I'll just take his closet space and it's fine.
Okay, speaking of you guys being on camera, your career as a travel nurse gave you like the path forward with traveling full-time with your family. So I'm curious, at what point were you able to quit nursing and become a full-time content creator with your husband?
It would have been in 2018. So if we started in 2015, it was about 3 years. And we had kind of it probably took us about 2 years to get to that point where I could have quit and us done this full time. But I had a really hard time letting go because that's what I had went to school for and that was my passion. But we were kind of living these 2 full-time jobs, where we were doing social media and YouTube, but we were also like, I was working nursing shifts on the side, and Nathan he was doing a lot online, like SEO work and website design. So we were honestly living like 2 jobs at that point, and that's not what we had set out to do. We set out to spend more time as a family. So it was a really tough decision, but we had finally was ready to make that leap, right? We were like, let's do this. Let's go all in. Let's Shunt More Journey like its own company and just both of us do this full time. So that was in 2018 because we were heading to Alaska. And so we took off to Alaska, and that's when we found out that our son was coming. So that was kind of a fun surprise. He's our Alaskan souvenir, we call it. So we went to Alaska, and we had tried for years and years and years, and then didn't happen. And then something about Alaska, it just worked. So that worked out that we had already went all in. And so I hadn't been back working as a nurse since he was born and just been home full time with our kids and running the business from the road.
I'm so glad that you're able to do that. So tell me about that phase. Like, here's where I'm coming from. I have myself as a content creator, and I host the podcast and run the online community. And then my husband actually is the breadwinner and works almost full-time hours. And then I lead the RV Queens online community. And there are a lot of women who are content creators, and then maybe they also work part-time from the road, and like they just kind of have like multiple things going on like you described. Will you tell us, how did you decide, like how do you manage not creating your own hamster wheel all over again and really make sure that you're living the life that you want and not just work constantly like you did, before travel life?
I mean, that is a true thing that I think we all struggle with, especially when your life is your business and sharing your life is your business. It can be very all-consuming sometimes. And you start to feel, and you know how it works with algorithms, and you're like, if I'm not posting, I'm falling behind. And so that stress is real. It's a reality to it. But I also know that, our family comes first, and that's what we sought out to do. And so I think just knowing your why is what we try to reiterate to ourselves all the time. And we have caught ourselves getting back into that hamster wheel, even being on the road and even working for ourselves. Sometimes working for yourselves is even harder because I don't clock in and clock out anymore. Like, our life is our business, and we catch ourselves talking about it too much or at dinner, or, we've started this rule. We don't talk business before bed because Nathan would stay up all night. I'd have an idea, right? And we're laying there in bed. I'm like, hey, what about this? He's like, no business, right? So I think setting those boundaries and letting our kids know that's tough too, especially when you're running social media from your phone, right? Setting those boundaries or those hours so your kids aren't seeing you on your phone all the time, working, because they don't know what's work and what's play, and that's very hard. But also setting a good example of hard work and setting those boundaries for yourself and taking time for yourself. So I think that's kind of been the key, is just we reevaluate that. And when things start spinning out of control, we have to take a step back. And does that hurt sometimes? Do you lose that momentum sometimes? Yeah, of course we do. But again, just knowing our why of it's okay. We're just going to do what we can do as a family and put them first. And that's kind of just kept us going.
I like it. Setting boundaries. Brilliant in every area of life.
I know it sounds simple when you're an entrepreneur. I mean, we have a calendar, and I'll see Nathan blocks out his time. And then if I don't block out my time, he will fill that time with something, right? So it's really having work times. Even though you work for yourself, it doesn't mean you have complete flexibility all the time. It just means you have to set those boundaries. And even if that's fun time, blocking that out of this is my fun time, which I'm a free spirit. So that is harder for me. But if I don't block it out, then nothing gets done. So yeah, but he loves the rigidity of a calendar. So we're definitely opposite personalities, living in 400 square feet, raising our kids and running a business. So it's interesting.
Oh man, sounds like you guys balance each other out well.
We do. We always say he's kind of the technical side of our business and I'm the relational side of our business. So we kind of fell into our roles kind of naturally, so I do more of the commenting and more of the relational part of the business, and he's more strategic and loves analytics and can plan out, content a little bit better. So, and I do short form, he does long form. We just kind of fell into that role a little bit and used our personality strengths to that.
Like I mentioned, we have a lot of content creators in the RV Queens listener base and also our online community. So what advice do you have for other content creators who are wanting to create a travel-focused brand that really stands out online?
Yeah, because there is so much sometimes out there. It is hard to set yourself apart, but what makes you different? We all have a story to tell. That doesn't mean that anything's ever oversaturated, because sometimes it can feel that way. You're like, well, what is special about me or my content or my story? But I think we all have something different, a different story, a different background to bring to the table. So it's what sets you apart? What is unique about you? What is your story? And so that's why I've tried to just be open and honest. I think, and people listen to what people tell you they enjoy about your content. That's something people have told us over the years. I just love how real it is, how open and honest you are. Because we talk about the ups and the downs, and it's not all rainbows. And I think people enjoy that, but they also like to feel inspired or encouraged, or, if you can do that with the little kids, then I can too. And so I think just knowing what sets you apart. And that's why we opened up about our infertility or certain things about our life, just because if that helps someone else. So just knowing what is your strength? What is that is different about you? Because we all have just a different story to tell. And then just starting there and just keep posting, right? Because you're helping somebody, whether you know it or not. Somebody is getting inspired and watching. And I think that's what's so cool about social media, is it just gives us a voice that we never would have had otherwise. We can reach so many people in the world that we've never even met, or we might never meet, but we have a voice and a story to share with the world. It's just keeping those boundaries, right? But how cool is that we're able to do that?
One area especially that you inspire people in is being able to live in an RV and travel full time with babies and, young kiddos. And both of your kids have been raised in your RV over the past 9 years. So tell me about raising babies and parenting little ones while traveling full time.
Yeah, that wasn't the plan, right? It just, It wasn't the plan, but that's okay. I think a lot of things in life, you look back and you're like, that wasn't the plan, but it worked out even better than I planned it or could have expected it. So, yeah, I think we made the decision to live full time when our daughter was 5 weeks, and then we hit the road when she was 1, and she's 10 now. And then, like I said, JJ just kind of came along for the journey on the ride, and I think it's just taught me a lot. People ask me a lot about babies in an RV or having a baby on the road, and I'm like, it wasn't much different, honestly, than when I lived in the house. I mean, my space is smaller. I have to be more intentional. But, we talked about all the things baby needs. I had all the things when Hensley was born and we had our house. And I had none of those things really when we lived in an Airstream when JJ was born. So it was a tiny, yeah. We did it for 6 months and then we upgraded to a fifth wheel when he came along. But for 6 months, he did the infant baby stage in an Airstream. And I just tell people, you don't need all the things you think you do. I mean, we were outside exploring. We were just going on walks, and he was in baby carriers, or he learned to walk and play and crawl and do all the things without any of the unnecessary stuff. So it's been kind of a cool journey. It's all they know. And we ask them often, we reevaluate, ask them if they enjoy traveling, if they're enjoying homeschool, and they're both saying, yeah, we love it. So we just reevaluate it every year and keep going until our family needs change. But we've absolutely really enjoyed this life and travel and the hands-on part that kids get, right? Like, it's so easy to teach a kid on the road, and they just catch on so fast. And geography and all that is just, she's been there. She knows, she's seen it. She can find it on a map, on a globe. It's just cool that we have memories in all these places. Going through homeschool, it's been talking about national parks lately. And she's like, oh, yeah, I have memories of Yosemite. We're reading about Yosemite. She has memories of Rocky Mountain National Park. It's just cool that it brings all that to reality. And honestly, that wasn't something that I expected. We thought we would go on this journey and probably go back and when it was time for her to go to school. And so I never even considered homeschool or what that looked like. But we just really enjoyed it. And it's been great seeing our kids just blossom and learn and make friends all over the country that they never would have met otherwise. Their best friends are on the road.
That part of hands-on learning is like one of my favorite things too. And when we were driving, we're in South Dakota right now, and on the way here, we saw several like plateaus. And I haven't even talked about plateaus with my kids, like in any kind of like homeschool science thing. But it was like, I just took it as like a learning opportunity to be like, hey guys, isn't it weird how it's like kind of a mountain, then all of a sudden it's flat? Did you know there's a word for that? And I was telling my husband, I was like, honestly, I remember learning all those terms and like habitats, like plateau and grasslands and blah, 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 whatever, boreal forest or whatever, in textbooks, and not fully understanding like what it meant or why they are different. And I love that my kids just gonna be like, oh yeah, when we went through South Dakota, we saw plateaus and grasslands, and it's the best. It's like my favorite.
I mean, I've learned so much even as an adult being on the road, because you're right. It's honestly like I'm getting a second education, because what I learned, you're right, in a textbook is just so different than real life. So I feel like I'm learning with them. And our daughter, she loves facts books. She reads them all the time. So whatever she says, I believe her. She honestly teaches me more than I think than I teach her. But she's just like always telling me about science and animals. And I have to go and ask her most of the time. She's really good at that. So it's fun. It's fun to see that come to life,
Okay, let me switch gears real quick. So you and Nathan started an online community, which I love. It's called Team Journey. Tell me about why you started the community and what people can expect if they join.
The missing puzzle piece we have found on the road for us and for others is just wanting community so bad, right? I feel like we all want the adventure. We want the family time. And we set out on this not even thinking about the community part, because when we started in 2015, there wasn't as much out there. We were kind of wandering around hoping we would run into somebody, right? But our first year was really, really lonely. And we actually almost came off the road. We were like, this is fun. We're seeing a lot of cool places, but we're lonely. And then we discovered like we had joined full-time families and we went to an event and we're like, oh, like you have to be intentional. You have to put yourself out there. You have to go find community. It's not just like kind of come knock on your door typically. And then that changed everything for us when we started making friends and meeting people and caravanning. And we were just like, this is what it's all about. And I'm 100% honest when I say that's what has kept us on the road is community. So that's our passion. And nothing breaks my heart more than hearing people say, like, I didn't find anybody and I was lonely and I went back and I gave, I like didn't like it because I was alone. And our saying is the journey's better together because it truly is. And so we just knew there was that missing piece. And we kept hearing over and over about people wanting community, but not knowing where to find it. So we developed Team Journey, and that is a way for people to connect. So we host events. We've been doing in-person events, and it's just been filling my heart. And even just our last event meeting a family on the road who literally said the same thing. Like we had hit a wall. We hadn't met anybody. We were alone. We were about to get off the road, and then they met their people at the event, right? So they're like, then now they're like caravanning together. Their daughter just had a birthday party and they all came from all over the country to meet for this daughter's birthday party. It just fills my heart to see that connection. So we just wanted to facilitate that. So we do like in-depth, more information with people. So we do live Zooms with them where we can answer their questions. We do the live events. We have a platform called Circle where we have our community on Circle. And so they can meet up with each other. They can comment. We also have an app called Nomad Near Me that we created a few years ago that essentially lets you connect with people as well. So it tells you, because we had heard so many times people are like, well, it was cool meeting you. I hope our paths cross again, right? So just bringing people together. So with that app, we're like, there needs to be a way that people can find each other and know when someone's in your area. So it's kind of it gives you an alert when one of your friends is in your area, or you can look around and see if there are people with similar interests around you. So that's just kind of been our focus is the community part. So that was just that missing puzzle piece that we saw.
We had the same experience, but ours was only like a 3-month journey when we first started. After 3 months, we're like, where are all the families? And we went to a full-time families event. I've told this story several times on the podcast, but when you show up and find other families like yours, it's a feeling of, oh, we're not crazy. Like, we're not the only ones that are living this counterculture lifestyle that like no one else understands back home, right? And to me, that's one of the most powerful parts of community is that feeling of not alone. You're not crazy. There's other people like you that are living this lifestyle too.
Yes, that's so important.
Before I ask my last question, go ahead and share where listeners can connect with you online.
We are Less Junk, More Journey on all our social platforms. So on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's just at Less Junk, More Journey. We also have a website too. That's lessjunkmorejourney.com. And that's where you'll find us hanging out.
Yeah. And I'll put all those links in the show notes. And then I'll also put a link to the Nomad Near Me app that you mentioned and where people can join Team Journey if they want to. Whenever you think back to the version of Marissa back before your full-time travel life and the version of you now as a nomad and a content creator, what has changed?
Gosh, you're going to make me cry. That hit me really hard. Because I know this sounds so crazy, but like, I remember when we first started YouTube, because my husband and I are both introverts. So if you would have told me our path in life was to become YouTubers and create social media and put our life out there, I'd have been like, you are crazy. Like, I wouldn't even push the like button on Facebook because I didn't want my name to show up. Like I was so afraid of social media and putting myself out there. I'm such a people pleaser. So as you know, online, that becomes very difficult because when you share your life, everyone wants to sometimes bring that down a little bit or everybody's an expert on their own opinion, right? So they want to put that out there and kind of discourage you sometimes. But I think over time, I used to even hide filming even from my husband. He'd be like, I need you to take the camera and go film XYZ. And I couldn't even do it in front of him. I used to have him he'd have to leave the RV, or I'd sneak behind the RV and like hold the camera. I couldn't even do it in front of him. So the fact that here we are now and we can, share our lives and be confident and comfortable and host events and do these things in person when I was the girl that would hide behind the RV to film. It's just a very cool experience that it just helped us get out of our shell a little bit and helped us become these versions of ourselves that I was too scared to do before. And that's just a really unique experience to, as an adult, learn and be pushed out of your shell. Because usually you think of that in your younger years and you don't think of that as you get older. But honestly, that's been such a learning experience for me. It's just, like I talked about, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, just like pushing ourselves. And that's just shown us so much. Even like I was talking about, learning new things about what I enjoy. I didn't even know those things about myself. I didn't know I loved adventurous hikes. I love these super crazy adventurous hikes that I would have been too scared to do before. So it's just really been a neat experience to become this version of myself that I didn't know I had in me. So it's a newfound confidence, I guess.
Oh, I love it so much. That's awesome. And I think a lot of people can relate with that too. Being out on the road when you're not around the social pressures and the same relationships you've been in for decades, it's like really allows you the space and time to just kind of explore the next evolution in yourself.
Yeah, it's fun.
Stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, Marissa, thank you so much for inspiring us all today and for being on the show. I have really enjoyed this conversation and getting to know you.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, maybe we'll meet on the road sometime.
I know. That's what I was about to say. Hopefully we will see you on the road.
I got an app for that. Yeah.
That's right. Awesome. All right. I'll see you next time, Marissa. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode and for being my favorite part of RV life. If you could please like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on, that would be awesome. And listen, if you want to have conversations like I had on this episode with your fellow RV women, head to rvqueenspodcast.com/community and choose your RV Queen Circle today. All right, guys, I'll see you next week, or hopefully I will see you on the road. It's the best. It's like my favorite.